Hey, welcome back everybody. Happy Tuesday. Hope we're having a wonderful start to the week out there. And we've got a lot going on here in the world of weather, from a big old heat dome to severe storms to a very active scene in the tropics. We've got a lot to discuss in today's video. Now, if you haven't already, definitely like the video if you like it, subscribe, and comment. Let me know where you're watching from and tell me how hot it is where you are, because again, a lot of folks are seeing those heat indices getting well past 100, and unfortunately that's a trend that's only going to continue into this weekend and really even get more people in on that heat dome action. And then on the flip side of that coin, again, tropical storm impacts now expected for portions of the lower 48, really starting as soon as now through tomorrow. And I'll tell you who that could be that sees it. And looking further on down the road, potentially more tropical mischief, again, could work its way into the lower 48. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump on into it, because again, we do have a pretty good bit to discuss, and I don't want to leave you hanging here with too much rambling on in the beginning. Now, taking a look at satellite imagery, you'll notice that big old high pressure, or that big heat dome that I've been talking about, it's not hard to find here on satellite. Again, just kind of sitting right over the eastern seaboard here, and just with this big kind of motion around it, you can see this big transport of kind of this conveyor belt, if you will, out of the Gulf of Mexico up the Mississippi River Valley, and that is helping to bring some precipitation, but also a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, and that is increasing our dew point value, which unfortunately is also increasing our heat index out there. So again, this is that air that you can wear. A lot of people like to say just very muggy. You walk outside and it just feels like somebody puts a wet blanket over you. So not what we want to feel, honestly, this time of year. Again, it's already hot enough, don't need to add anything to it, but unfortunately this pattern is really kind of doing a lot of harm there for us in the temperature department. Now, also on satellite imagery, this big conveyor belt is stemming from what is now a potential tropical cyclone 1 here into portions of the Gulf of Mexico there, down through the Bay of Campeche. So again, this is spinning away. Hurricane hunters went in there yesterday. Yesterday, they took a look at it and said, it's not quite there yet, but this is very likely to be a tropical storm, likely by the end of today, if not before making landfall somewhere there into the Mexican coastline tomorrow. And again, we'll talk a lot about that in today's video. Now, radar imagery, again, kind of showing this pretty well. Again, all clear here through much of the eastern seaboard as that high pressure is really dominating the pattern. But as I mentioned, on the edge of that high pressure, this kind of conveyor belt is really, again, continuing here. And we've got showers moving up the Mississippi River Valley from Louisiana all the way up into the Ohio River Valley, with some storms rolling on through Indiana this morning. Now, also on the outer edge of this big high pressure, we are seeing multiple kind of troughs kind of dig on through the northern tier of the country, and that is bringing more organized severe weather. We saw that yesterday in the Dakotas. We'll see it again today up into the northern Great Plains, and that's going to continue even into tomorrow with a couple places that could see strong storms. And then again on Thursday, where the northeast could see some stronger storms. So again, just all types of weather ongoing, and something I'm not even really going to mention too much in this video, but we also have winter storm conditions ongoing out into portions of the Rockies out west. So we quite literally are seeing all four seasons out there right now, and you can see that very well on our watches, warning, and advisory map. We've got flood watches up for much of southern Texas due to, again, soon to be Tropical Storm Alberto, and then up into the northeast, heat advisories, excessive heat warnings in effect as well for, again, all of that heat that we're seeing right now, and that, again, going to continue through this week. And then, like I said, on the flip side of that coin, we've got winter weather advisories up into the mountains of Montana. So everyone is seeing a little bit of everything. In fact, also fire weather was a big concern yesterday in New Mexico, as we had evacuations ordered for a town there. Again, just really all sides of every type of coin ongoing across much of the country. Now, let's dive into the overall pattern a little bit more here, because it is very important for understanding what we're going to kind of see here over the next week or two throughout much of the country. So, as I mentioned, this big area of orange on your map, or this big buckle kind of in the jet stream, this is a ridge or a heat dome or just a big area of high pressure. You're going to hear all sorts of different things people call it in the media, but just know this is what is responsible for, one, that conveyor belt of moisture, and two, those excessive amounts of heat that we're seeing in much of the country. Now, as we move this ahead, because this is today on Tuesday, you'll notice what happens is this thing just gets stronger and stronger and parks itself over the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. And by the time, well, let me pick a different color here. By the time we're getting into, again, this is, high pressure. Sorry, I changed to blue and all of a sudden thought it was low pressure. Anyway, though, back to what I was saying. This big area of red on your map is just going to expand and kind of, shift a little definitely throughout the next couple of days, but it's going to stay very persistent here. And again, it's really going to continue to build that heat into Wednesday afternoon, Thursday afternoon, and even into this weekend. Now, you'll notice something that changes a little bit with it is the kind of orientation of this. Into the middle of this week, it's kind of shaped this way, but by the time we get later towards this weekend, this is going to become a bit of a flatter ridge, which is going to kind of change who sees the heat and who doesn't a little bit more. But either way, the heat will remain, and it's going to stay that way for a while before hopefully sometime next week we can get a couple more of these troughs in blue to kind of swing on through the eastern part of the country, maybe bring some showers, bring some storms, and just kind of bring things back down a little bit towards the kind of end of June here. So we'll see if we can manage that, but either way, this week it's going to be very hot. We can see that here in the temperature anomaly map. Again, the orange and red colors are above average temperatures, the cooler than average temperatures in the blue, and again, only blue we're seeing is out west, and that, hence is why we're seeing some of that snow in those higher terrains. So again, very interesting, but just look at all of this red and orange into the eastern half of the country, and especially even up into eastern Canada. A lot of people are talking about the United States, but you folks into Quebec and Ontario, it's hot out there, and I'm sure I don't need to tell you that. You can experience that plenty enough. And unfortunately, again, this is going to continue. This is Wednesday afternoon. I mean, we're talking temperatures that could be near 20 degrees above what they should be this time of year, and this is the middle to end of June, so it's already hot enough. These very warm temperatures, though, again, we're just going to add salt into the wound there, and that continues for a while. You'll notice, though, kind of getting into Wednesday, Thursday, most of the heat gets kind of trapped up into the northeast. We're a little closer to average into the mid-Atlantic, southeast, and southern tier of the country. That's for a couple reasons. One, we're getting some of that Gulf moisture up into Texas and Louisiana. That's cooling things down just due to cloud cover, but also on kind of the backside of this ridge, we're going to get some pretty strong onshore flow off the beaches into the Carolinas, with actually a little bit of dry air that we have aloft there. And that's again going to work on through and bring those dew point values down, but also just temperatures. So it's going to be a little bit more pleasant middle of the week for the southeast, but again, don't get too excited because can't stay that way forever. And getting into this weekend, my oh my, the heat dome continues, although shifting a little bit further south now, and really impacting folks in the Ohio River Valley, Mississippi River Valley, and back into the southeastern United States. So very warm week ahead, and that's not going to be the only problem. Obviously, above average temperatures are not great, but you add in the dew points here and the humidity, and the heat index really starts going through the roof. So this afternoon, again, widespread heat indices up near 100 degrees Fahrenheit through portions of the Northeast and into the Ohio River Valley. That continues Wednesday afternoon. Very warm heat indexes here showing up for much of the country. Thursday afternoon, we're going to do it all again, and you'll notice here as we get closer to the weekend, these numbers are really going to get kind of ridiculous here for a big portion of the southeast and Ohio River Valley. Again, heat index around 101, 102 through much of Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana. Same thing down into the Florida Panhandle and even into South Florida here. Just very hot feels like temperatures, and even along the I-95 corridor, Philadelphia could crack 100 degrees for a heat index here, potentially Friday, and then even going into Saturday. Look at this. Again, just that pattern continues. Very hot temperatures, oppressive air, and this is getting into Sunday afternoon, and again, just getting kind of ridiculous here, up near 106 degrees for a heat index. It's like you're in an oven here through portions of Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma. Again, just a lot of heat for a lot of people all week. And again, it's going to shift. Some people are going to see it worse some days. Others are going to see it worse other days. This is getting about a week out now into Monday. And obviously just pretty ridiculous numbers here showing up from Raleigh all the way down to through Columbia, Charlotte, Atlanta, and through a lot of these southern cities. So it's going to be hot. Find a way to prepare. Stay hydrated. If you work outside, again, take all the precautions that you can, if you're working in this sort of heat. Alrighty, so let's talk about the tropics now, which I'm sure is the main reason a lot of you are here, but I figured I'd get kind of the boring stuff out of the way, if you will. And let's take a look at this now. So the National Hurricane Center actually has three separate areas that have, their eyes on. So we'll kind of break all these down one by one, and we'll start with kind of this red X that you see on your map. It says 1, and it's kind of hard to see because it's actually hidden within another area on the map here. But this is potential tropical cyclone 1, again, soon to very likely be tropical storm Alberto, which is going to get the ball running for our hurricane season here. So again, we're going to start discussing that, but then afterwards we'll discuss this area off the Atlantic coast that we talked a little bit about last video, and then after that we will discuss another area right over where potential tropical cyclone 1 is that could potentially cause some more mischief down the road, starting as early as this weekend. Alrighty, so satellite imagery, again, we've got all these areas that we're watching. This is, again, potential tropical cyclone 1, or as I've said many times, so we'll just really call it tropical storm Alberto, because honestly, by the time you're watching this, it very well could be tropical storm Alberto. Either way, though, whether it has that name or not, impacts are not going to be changed. This is a big area of moisture and spin that is formed off of this gyre here, which, if you don't know what that is, just this time of year, we get the intertropical convergence zone to kind of shift northward, and we just get a lot of air that kind of funnels into itself, rises up, and oftentimes that just creates a big area of thunderstorm activity in Central America, but oftentimes pieces of that can break off and get a little bit more enclosed here, and that's what we're seeing here. This is just a piece of that intertropical convergence zone out of this big gyre that is broken off and is now kind of funneling northward a little bit. So again, the main impacts here are going to be the fact that we are going to see flooding into portions of southern Texas, unfortunately, but we even have a little bit of storm surge on the way and tropical storm warnings in effect for a lot of the Texas coastline. So again, this is the first storm of the year, and it is bringing impacts with it that are not just minimal in nature. Again, some bigger impacts to worry about. Now, this area of thunderstorm activity kind of off near the Bahamas and into kind of portions of Hispaniola, again, just kind of even south of Bermuda there. This is a disorganized area of showers and storms, has a low chance of developing within the next 5 days as it kind of heads generally towards the southeast coastline. Now, the models have backed off on this one a little bit, so, we will take it with a grain of salt, but we'll watch it. Again, anything can change very quickly in the tropics, so we will continue to monitor, but the best news with that one is it could potentially bring a little bit of rainfall to some folks who need it here in the southeast, who have been quite dry and again are really going to get hit by that heat dome pretty hard. So we'll see if that can help bring temperatures down even a little bit and a little bit of moisture. Alrighty, so again, potential tropical cyclone 1, aka soon to be Alberto or Alberto. I'm not sure exactly which one you want to call it, but I'm sure you get the point either way. Again, kind of sitting over the Bay of Campeche right now, and it does already have tropical storm force winds with it in this area of yellow, all over just the ocean right now. But as this continues to track northward and eventually hook back towards Mexico over the next couple of days, we could see some tropical storm conditions into the southern coastline of Texas, really from kind of Houston Bay all the way back down towards Galveston and down into Brownsville are going to be the hardest hit areas, but really rainfall will be the biggest deal here. And obviously the cone not over Texas, but again, you'll notice all the impacts are really shifted on that north side of this storm system. So obviously by the time it gets here, that circle is still going to be to the north and bringing those impacts into portions of southern Texas. So that's the track for this guy. And taking a look at storm surge, again, like I mentioned, it's not going to be nothing here. In fact, kind of here into Galveston Bay, don't be surprised if we see some, areas that get up to maybe 2, even 3 feet of storm surge, which is definitely enough to, cause some problems. Definitely going to make a messy beach trip. And in fact, rip currents are also going to be a problem, very likely. So, make sure you're looking at those flags at the beach. Make sure you know if it's safe to go out or not, depending on when you do. Obviously going to be kind of important there. So again, storm surge is going to be something we need to watch out for. Now, the bigger deal out of everything, though, I'll tell you right now, is going to be the rainfall. In fact, we could see half a foot, upwards of a foot of rain in isolated spots here into southern Texas over the next couple of days. From Houston, again, up into Galveston Bay and down south into Brownsville. A lot of these communities, same places that were generally hit by Harvey here. Now, obviously, this is no Harvey, but, the rainfall is going to be an impact much like Harvey was. So, again, flash flood watches and flood watches are up for these regions already due to this rainfall forecast. And it's going to definitely be something we need to watch out for. And flash flooding, a big time concern. A moderate level of flash flooding issued for tomorrow, Wednesday afternoon, from Austin over towards Houston. And actually, that might be San Antonio. Sorry, I'm not great with my Texas cities here. But either way, this south part of Texas here in the red, got to watch out for the threat of some flash flooding into our Wednesday. And even really starting now. Now through Wednesday and even into Thursday are going to be the main days that we need to worry about this. And you can see that pretty well here on our future cast from our latest high resolution rapid refresh model. This is getting into this afternoon, Tuesday. Let me refresh this page so it's loading a little bit quicker. Here we go. So again, getting into this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, you'll notice, again, a lot of that rain kind of working into the coastline of Texas. So again, even into this evening, a lot of that rain working into tomorrow morning, Wednesday. Shockingly enough, it's still raining. As for winds here, we could see some embedded tropical storm strength winds, definitely. Again, we do have that tropical storm warning up for the coastline, but it's really going to be confined here to the southern edges of the coastline, and really specifically far southern Texas. It's going to have the best shot of seeing some embedded 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts in there as these kind of bands of rain move on through. And again, this is very tropical air, so it's going to come down in heavy quick. A lot of rain. This is Wednesday afternoon, obviously the worst of it, as I mentioned with the flooding map. And again, just all that rain working on through, causing problems even well into Wednesday evening and likely even into Thursday afternoon as well. Unfortunately, overnight Wednesday is as far out as this model goes currently. But again, expect this shield of rain to continue working on through even into Thursday before I think things begin to clear up after that. All right, so that's the first area that we're watching out for. Our second area is this little kink in the isobars you see on the map here that I have circled. So obviously you'll notice how we kind of get this buckling here in our isobars. That just indicates we have a trough or an area of low pressure that's trying to develop. And again, that correlates with what I showed you on satellite imagery here earlier. Again, this area is that same kink in the trough that I just showed you. So as we kind of move this ahead into time a little bit, you'll notice this is going to move generally towards the southeastern United States coastline, but the latest models have really failed to develop this into much. And here we go. This is into Friday afternoon. You'll notice just that little troughing kind of moves into portions of the Jacksonville, Savannah, kind of Beaufort, South Carolina area, and tries to bring a little bit of shower activity, but it really doesn't develop into much, and unfortunately any rain that comes is not likely to produce a lot. And the main reason for that is going to be dry air. This big area of high pressure I mentioned is going to actually kind of help to funnel in a little bit of dry air here momentarily. Actually, let me back this up. I'm a little bit ahead of myself, sorry. Right now, that high pressure, like I said, sorry, is funneling in a good bit of dry air into the southeastern United States. And as this area of moisture and this troughing tries to work into that dry air, it's just going to kind of suck up all the moisture and really prevent it from developing into something serious. Now, again, Friday afternoon here, you'll notice here it is, this area of green. So definitely some there. Again, cannot exclude the idea of some shower activity as this moves on in, maybe even a little bit of cloud cover. So again, a little bit of rain can fall, and we'll watch the trends on it. But just not going to be a blockbuster rain event, which unfortunately a lot of folks down here really need some rain. So if we're lucky, this will bring a little bit, but don't get your hopes too high. And then again, kind of fizzles out by the time we get into this weekend. All right, that's the second area that we're watching. What about that third area? Again, that kind of area over where our current storm system is. Well, that's something we need to watch in this weekend. As I mentioned, this big gyre, or just this big kind of thunderstorm activity and spinning air that we have in Central America, it's not going anywhere. So, we already had one piece kind of break off, and that's what's impacting Texas today and tomorrow. And we could see another piece kind of break off here into the weekend. In fact, it's quite common this time of year that this is where our tropical systems come from. And here we go into this Saturday, our latest GFS model, this is our European model, already developing another area of spin right where we already have our current storm into the Bay of Campeche. So you'll notice it kind of picks up a little bit of motion here and even kind of tries to close off a little bit before eventually just kind of smacking, again, basically the exact same place our current storm is smacking. So we could do it all again this weekend and into early next week. And even after that, do not be surprised to maybe see a little bit more mischief even try to develop here into portions of the Gulf. Now the GFS model is a little bit more excited about this. Again, getting into this weekend, here's that area of spin, and you'll notice a little bit stronger here. Not super strong by any means, but still an area to watch out for that could do the exact same thing our current storm is doing. But even then, impacts remain generally limited, and as I move this ahead, getting about a week or more out, you'll notice another area develops kind of from that same general gyre, and this is about 10 days out, so again, take this with a very large grain of salt. This is not generally, this isn't what's going to happen. We're not going to have a tropical storm necessarily at this exact location and time, but just know the general idea is something we need to watch out for. This kind of these pieces of energy breaking out of this gyre, getting pulled northward by this high pressure that we're dealing with, again, and with a very favorable environment in the Gulf, especially sea surface temperature wise. Now, granted, we'll be fighting some dry air and wind shear from time to time. But nonetheless conducive enough that something like this could happen within the next 10, 15 days. Would not be surprised at all to see a tropical storm or two again form before the time June is over here in the Gulf. So that's something we're definitely watching out for, and we'll keep you updated on. Alrighty, now that we talked about that, let's very briefly talk about everything else and just kind of summarize that up to end out the video here. So here we go. This is going into this middle of the week, sorry. Again, like we've been talking about, high pressure here parked over the eastern part of the country, and on the edge of it is where we're seeing these storms. So again, a kind of a trough here trying to work on through, bringing some stormy activity to the northern end of this high pressure, and then again that train out of the Gulf on the southern end. So rain will be something we see this week, again, especially into the central part of the country, into the northern plains, and into Texas. And that just kind of continues even into Thursday afternoon here. Another round of precipitation into the Midwest. That continues, again, working into the Northeast. Could see some severe weather at points this week. But for our friends in the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast, we're going to have to wait a little bit on the rain, probably until this weekend at the earliest is the most reasonable time I see the return of rainfall to portions of the Southeast and Mid-Atlantic. Again, that ridge could change its orientation enough, maybe some afternoon thunderstorms get back into the forecast, maybe even a trough or two try to swing on in and kind of bring some more organized rainfall. But all things considered, not that much rain within the next week for folks in the east central part of the country. Now again, on the edge of this high pressure, different story. Now, severe weather today, again, could see some strong storms in the Great Plains, also even into portions of the Northeast, a couple strong storms. Main threats will be a strong straight line winds. Could see a couple tornadoes out into the Midwest in this yellow area. But again, wind is going to be the biggest threat this afternoon. And then getting into our Thursday here, another area of potential severe weather showing up on our map here up into the Northeast. So need to watch out for that as well. And then final map I'll show here for you before I let you go is just rainfall over the next week. And again, this just kind of summarizes what I just talked about and kind of talked about the entire video. High pressure in the central part of the country going to prevent much rain into the Ohio River Valley and into the southeast, but higher rain totals obviously into Texas as we talked about, and then also up into the Midwest kind of on the edge of this high pressure, and could even see some rain into the Northeast kind of as these troughs try to work on in throughout the next week or so. Alrighty, so talked about a lot in today's video. Again, tropics getting active, a lot of rain, a lot of heat, even some snow for some folks. So we're really seeing it all out there throughout much of the country. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you liked it, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and of course, let me know how hot it is where you are. And if you happen to be watching in Texas, let me know what kind of impacts you're getting here from that tropical system. With all that said, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you all next time.